Welcome on in, guys. Three bold takes, and we are back with Bowl Mania this year. We do this every single year. Link is in the description to join. Winner will receive a free Champions Three Bold Takes t-shirt courtesy of the guys over here at Three Bold Takes. But before we get into it, we are sponsored by SeatGeek, so use our discount code 3BoldTakes at checkout to get $20 off your first purchase. We are looking to go to a couple of bowl games. We will definitely be using SeatGeeks. You guys should too. It'll show you what's a good deal, what's a bad deal, and should save you a little bit of money off the top.
Welcome on in, guys. It is Three Bold Takes. Freddie, Chase, and Quinn here. And if you've been following our channel just a little bit, we've been doing some Capital One Bowl Mania. I hope you guys have enjoyed it so much. But, man, I want to take a step back and maybe do a quarterfinal wraparound because these games, I was pretty alarmed at them. You had Penn State beating Boise State 31-14. Texas outlasting Arizona State in double overtime 39-31. Ohio State absolutely pounding the Ducks 41-21. And then Notre Dame getting it done over Carson Beckless UGA in that one 23-10. The most surprising one to me by far was the double overtime Texas Arizona State. My favorite game to watch out of all these playoffs so far. Cam Scadaboo is now the nation's love, I guess you would say. Maybe he is the nation's running back after what he did. I think he had a passing touchdown, a receiving touchdown, and then two rushing touchdowns. Kid did it all for Arizona State. Absolutely loved watching it. But I got to know, what is y'all's favorite games, or what you hated, what you loved? Just kind of talk to us about the quarterfinal wrap up. I'll go with you first, Freddie. I'd love to hear. I know you're just chomping at the bit.
I loved the Texas and Arizona State game. I was actually I picked Texas to win, but I was rooting for Arizona State to win that game. I love the culture that they have there. And if I'm not mistaken, Scadaboo said that this is just the beginning of Arizona State. So, you know, take that what you will. Can they replicate this again next year? Who knows? But a wonderful season. I think my biggest takeaway from this quarterfinal is this is the first time that we saw the number or the top four seeds play in this playoffs, and they all lost. Now,
Yeah.
that tells me seeding is horrible, but it also tells me that conference champion, good, make the playoffs, bad that you get an automatic top four seed and a bye, to me personally. Especially when you're a team, either a group of five team or a team that's ranked outside of the top 12 and gets bumped in because you won the conference. That to me is a little bit different. But listen, I think I wasn't really surprised about Notre Dame. Carson Beck not playing for Georgia is a huge deal. We already talked about that in one of our other videos, so go watch that if you want to deep dive into the Notre Dame and Georgia game and kind of the fallout of that. But Ohio State trouncing Oregon in Pasadena was unexpected to me. Now, maybe it shouldn't have been, because I saw how Ohio State played Tennessee at home. They absolutely demolished them at home. But we had already seen Ohio State and Oregon play this year, and I thought it was going to be a part two to that, where both teams are showing why they're, the number one and number two ranked team in the country, going at it, very physical. But it wasn't that. Oregon did not look like they wanted to be there. They weren't ready to play. And I think that's due to the long break that they had. You got to remember, we had Christmas, right? We had, they had almost over a month off. I'm pretty sure it was right at a month, something like that. That's a lot of time off. Now, it can be good, it can be bad. You can get some players back that have been injured. However, it gives you enough time to get out of that rhythm, especially around the holidays. Whereas if you're playing in the first and second round, you have a short break, and then you're right back to it like you're in mid-season there. So there's a lot of different factors that play into these games. But I think the seeding is bad, and I also think having a month off is bad too. Now, I don't know how that could be addressed, but that's kind of sort of my takeaways. All the conference champions and the top four seeds all lost.
Yeah, I'll say this first. As far as my favorite game, I mean, there's only one answer. It's the Peach Bowl because every other game was not that close. Like when I was watching, I was pulling for Texas because I picked them and I like being right. And then as the game was going, and I watched Arizona State get back in it, and Texas missed 2 field goals, I switched who I was rooting for mid game because at that point I was pissed off. I was like, Texas does not deserve to win this game. Cam Scadaboo is literally dragging his corpse on the field, doing everything he can do to
No,
beat
yeah.
them, and I started pulling for Arizona State. So the flip of emotions I had right at the end when it's 4th and 15, I'm like, oh, they've lost. I'm celebrating for Arizona State. Then they get a touchdown. I'm like, oh man. And then literally a second later, they're on top by 8 points. And I was just heartbroken because I knew Arizona State could not score again. I knew
Yeah.
that was pretty much the game. As far as my biggest takeaway from these quarterfinals, though, it's all about seeding. All about seeding. I hate it. All right. It is when you look at this quarterfinal, we had 4 teams. All 4 of the teams ranked 1, 2, 3, and 4 were in the quarterfinal. Every single one of them was. Um, number 4, Penn State, was playing number 9, Boise State. Oh, is it because Boise State won a wild card game to get to play a top 14? No, they had a bye. Number 3, Texas, they won. They beat number 12, Arizona State, for the exact same reason. The number 12 team in the country had a bye week or had a bye and did not have to play in the first round. Meanwhile, now keep that in mind. Number 3 played number 12. Number 4 played number 9. Number 2, Georgia, they would have had a bye. They were conference champion. They had a bye whether they were conference champion or not because they were ranked number 2. All right. They were rewarded by playing, what was it, number 5, Notre Dame? Is that where Notre Dame was ranked? I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
All
so.
right. And number 1, Oregon played number 6, Ohio State. What a reward. Congratulations. You won your conferences. You're ranked number 1 and number 2. You get to play 5 and 6, while the teams that you beat get to play lower tier competition. That's so dumb. That is so dumb. Go ahead, Freddie.
Can I just say this? I would rather this happen in the quarterfinal when it did. Per instance, these teams that got beat who shouldn't have been a high seed happen in the quarterfinal, like Oregon, right? I'm just going to throw that out there. I'd much rather them get beat first round than show up to a semifinal game and get blown out because because of who they played in the first round. So now we have a sense of we have 4 teams that could potentially be a very, very good game.
But does Oregon get blown out as bad without the rust? Because the second thing that you hit on was rust, and now you could see it. Look at every single team that had the break. Okay, Arizona State was in it with Texas. They gave up 14 points like that at the start of the game. Boise made the game kind of close with Penn State. They gave up 14 points like that right at the start of the game.
They did.
Oregon gave up just like that right at the start of the game. All these teams that play, the only example where that didn't happen was Georgia and Notre Dame. That game was close into the middle part of the game before Notre Dame pulled away. But in the other 3, the team that played in the wild card round jumped on the team that had a break immediately, right
Yeah,
at the start of the game.
it's true.
That's fair.
So does Oregon, they've started actually putting some offense together in the second half. They just had so many points that they had to overcome that they had no chance, right? I I don't know. My biggest gripe was obviously seeding. I don't know if Russ is going to continue to be a problem long term. I think that might just be an example of obviously Ohio State was better than Oregon. Oregon got the better of them at home on a night in October, and then Ohio State blew a game to Michigan. I think if Ohio State doesn't lose to Michigan, they probably beat Oregon in the Big Ten championship game. Like
Yep.
And
I
then we
don't
have a
want to like
different, yeah.
yeah. So and then we have Ohio State seeded 1, and then Oregon would be in the quarterfinal probably, because Oregon would have been better off to lose. Like, let's get that out of the way real quick. Oregon would have been in a better spot to
To
lose that
lose.
game to Penn State. If they lose to Penn State, they play what? They play Clemson at home. Clemson has to travel from South Carolina all the way across the country to Eugene, Oregon. And then they get to play Arizona State. That's a much better draw than having to play a very angry Ohio State team who is looking for revenge against you.
Yep.
Just saying. Like that. And look, there's been so much outrage over this exact thing that we're talking about that I don't expect this to be a problem next year. I don't. I expect them to move it to guaranteed by. I think the top 5 champions should get in. I don't have an issue with that. I just expect them to move the seeding based on your rankings. So 1, 2, 3, 4 is 1, 2, 3, 4, not 1, 2, 9, 12.
What do you think about the idea of reseeding?
What do you mean?
Like after each round you reseed, right? So
we should 1000% do that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think
like
that would
that
be
should
really
be a
good
thing.
too. Because
That's
then
why
if
they-
you look at it, if you look at like the upcoming games for the semifinal, let me get to it. If you was to reseed before this, then you would have 1 Texas, 8. Well, I don't know how you would reseed it though, if it would be based upon like if the playoff committee would reseed them each round.
You can't reseed
that would
you
be
can't
funny.
reseed after the quarter. You can't do that. I
Well,
think
no,
the
yeah.
quarterfinal. So the semifinals are just based on once you play the quarterfinal, you just advance and you play
Yeah.
who you play. But after that first round, it should 100% be reseeded. Now, reseeding wouldn't have fixed this situation because the only change that would have happened, let's see, the best Texas would have still played Arizona State because Texas would have been the highest ranked team out of the 4 that won in the wild card. Arizona State the lowest. Penn State would have still played. It would have worked out exactly the same way if you seeded them that way, to be honest. But it's because of the issue that 9 and 12 were seeded as 3 and 4.
Chase, what do you think about the idea of after the first 2 rounds, the playoff committee comes back together and re-ranks the remaining team?
I mean, in theory, it's amazing putting the committee in the same group of guys in there and to begin with. I'm not a fan. I don't like the people making the decisions at all. I'm a big computer guy. Let the statistics, let the computer make everything work through there. I think we've had so many problems when we've had a committee put these things together because it's just it just seems like there's purpose to it. And it's not the purpose of let's get the best teams and the best games available. It's always seemed like, okay, these are the best games for entertainment purposes to drive money revenue, to do this, to do that. So I love the re-ranking in theory. So yes, Freddie, I love that part. If it was done by a computer, I'd be more inclined.
So what do y'all think though about the idea of, okay, let's say you're seeded 1, 2, 3, 4, and you have the wild card games. Then instead of them being matched up auto like they are right now, where the winner of 5 and 12 is guaranteed to play 4. Okay, well, what if 12 beats 5? And so instead of 12 playing 4, they're the lowest seeded team in the bracket, so they go and play number 1.
Yep, it's easy.
I think
NFL.
that's the most sense.
Yeah,
but that's not how it works right now.
No, I know,
like,
but I'm saying that would make the most
should.
sense on how you do
Yeah,
it.
like
easiest one.
Yeah, so we're all in agreement there. Like, I think the 2 changes that need to 100% be made now that we're here into the semis is you need to seed these teams based on how they're ranked. And then instead of having everything just here's the bracket and now it's going to play out, like treat that first round as what it is, which is a wild card round.
Yeah. No. Yeah, and I mean, y'all are taking away seeding. I've got to add in too, though. Kudos to Ryan Day, James Franklin. They're saving their jobs currently.
That's
I
right.
am giving
That's
You
right.
patting
just
on the
gave
back.
kudos to
I
James
am.
Franklin, Freddie.
I am mainly because they're keeping their jobs currently.
Clip it and save it.
That, and then you got Notre Dame as well, who doesn't seem like Brian Kelly's Notre Dame. So that's the biggest thing I'm taking away. Definitely thought Notre Dame would still be afraid of the limelight a little bit. Thought they would just power down against a bigger name, bigger branded team in Georgia. They did not. I was extremely surprised by that one. Just the sheer dominance they played with on defense, and then also just Ryan Day being as dominant as he is, and then James Franklin being James, he getting him a win. So those are the things I take away. For now, the jobs are safe. I was very adamant on some of these people being fired / they weren't good enough. Currently, they're in my book.
I've got another takeaway. Both the first and second rounds should be on college campus.
Agreed.
Second round,
Those
yes.
home games,
Yep.
oh my goodness, the atmosphere was unreal. Like that Penn State atmosphere was unreal. The Ohio State was unreal. Like we need this in college football because it just if you want people to understand why college football is great, this is how you do it. You play the games in the stadiums that are built for these games. You don't play them in NFL stadiums that are built for the NFL. Like, stop doing that. Let these bowl sponsors sponsor the home games. It's an easy fix. Call it the Goodyear Cotton Classic. Just take the bowl out of it and just have it at a home fit. Like, it just, I don't know. It really upsets me.
I mean, because like, well, let's just put it that way. The teams that get the bye, what did they get really rewarded with? A bye? And because if you put Ohio State at Oregon, I'm thinking even Penn State at Boise State. You're a lot of these games are made out for entertainment market value purposes, right? Think about the money that is flowing through those college towns. Now, not even Ohio State going to Oregon, but Penn State going to Boise State. Penn
Yeah.
State, I believe, would travel extremely well, but you're talking about a group of 5 that not only is getting money from being in the playoffs, but now their whole town is going to benefit from it. I think it's absolutely enormous there. But that is the true reward. Hey, I get to play a home game in my stadium. They absolutely got nothing as a top seed that they should. And honestly, take it a step further, every game but the championship should be in a college campus stadium, because I like how the NFL does it. I like how the NBA does it. Should be on your home court. It should be on your home turf. That's how you play because you are the higher seed. And I think that would just be great. And just think about like Clemson. Let's go Clemson for a change. Well, no, not Clemson. My bad. Let's go Oregon for a change. They're the number 1 seed. They play all 3 games as they made the national championship, all 3 home games. Like, think about that. They get money. They also have the opportunity to play in front of their fans 3 more times this season. And then they get the benefit of, hey, I'm the top seed. This is my reward. I get to play in front of home crowds every single week until the national championship.
And then on top of that, like, hear me out. Like Ohio, I completely agree with this. I like this train of thought. Like, look at Ohio State. I think we can all agree Ohio State's the most talented team in the country as far as their roster is concerned. Okay. But they did not live up to their talent during the season. Well, now that they got a home game and now they get to go play neutral sites against better competition. Well, what if they were truly punished and had to be traveling on the road? Like, they'd be at Texas, which, now let's be real, they're at Texas in the semifinal.
True.
Like, let's be real. But they'd have to go to Autzen Stadium. They'd have to go to Darrell K. Royal Stadium. I like that idea. And honestly, throw these, I don't care about the bowl games, man. Get rid of the freaking ReliaQuest Bowl and let the ReliaQuest Bowl be the Peach Bowl. Nobody cares, okay? Like, get rid of it, okay? I want to see games in college stadiums other than the national title. And then, hot take, and now the Rose Bowl should always host the national championship game.
Hot take.
That is a hot take. I have one more hot take. Why Notre Dame's never joining a conference? And I don't know if that's a hot take because I think eventually they may be forced to in 5-7 years. They get the same amount of money. Listen to this. The
Yeah,
Big
no, I
Ten,
saw that.
the Big Ten, the SEC get $14 million from the playoff committee. Notre Dame gets $14 million to themselves, by themselves. Why on earth would anybody join a conference? Why would Ohio State remain in the Big Ten if that's the case? They're making playoffs year in and year out, I feel. So
They're making they're
Join,
making money
hey,
for Purdue and Maryland and all those teams at the bottom.
join a conference so that you can get a bye week and then get beat in a stadium that isn't your own.
If that is the only reward you have, there's no chance. Because Notre Dame also gets to pick their schedule. They can cherry pick. And yeah, there's some rivalries they have, but those are crap rivalries. Playing USC every year, USC's been a joke since the early 2000s.
Yeah, I would not call the USC game a crap rivalry, dog.
I hate
Hold
that.
on.
I'm not a USC truther. I'm not a USC truther. You will not sell me on that one. That is probably up there with the Penn State James Franklin. It's just not
I'm
happening.
not saying USC's good this year. I'm just saying don't call the Notre Dame USC rivalry game a trash rivalry game.
When was that? When was USC good last?
The mid 2000s.
Yeah, Matt, like those guys. Pete Carroll.
20 years ago.
Yeah, they've
but I
been
mean,
good for a while.
We're talking about a rivalry game that literally shaped the sport.
That's fine. That doesn't mean it's been exciting for 20 years. It's boring.
But it was good.
Well, that's
it
what
was
I'm trying
exciting
to put
literally 2 years ago.
That's what I'm trying to put into Notre Dame's schedule, though, is that they don't have to play these Georgias, Alabamas, Ohio States unless they want to. So unless USC's good, that's one of the ones they play every year. Unless they're good, USC's not playing much anybody. And unless they have multiple slip-ups like they did against NIU this year, Notre Dame, because I remember it true as day. We, in the offseason, said, guys, who are locks to make the playoffs? And I said Notre Dame because they'll lose a game or two, but they're going to hover around in the top 12, and they're going to be there because that's the schedule they play. Notre Dame's going to be there. Notre Dame will always be there. This 12-team playoff has only benefited Notre Dame. Talk about the 14 playoff. Talk about the BCS championship. Notre Dame was always on the cusp. Now top 12, Notre Dame may never miss it again in their life. I'm telling you, because they don't have to play anybody. And unless what Freddie mentioned, that they have to join a conference, Notre Dame's good, man. Good as gold. No pun intended. Good as gold, though. They are just sitting there, chilling, feet kicked up, lose a game or two a year, make it in.
Well, I don't know if lose 2 games is a good thing for Notre Dame, because then at that point you're going on the road somewhere in the first round of the playoff.
Yeah, but you making $14 million for being in the playoffs. So
yeah, that's true. That's true.
It's crazy.
Yeah. Now we'll see. I'm not convinced that we're not 5 years away from a Big Ten SEC only playoff.
That's the only caveat that I mentioned where they would have to join.
Yeah, but in the current system, they've got it made, man. You get the guarantee. I mean, you don't get a first round bye, but you always get a nice home game as long as you're good.
Yep.
Then you don't have to go in tired or you don't have to go in rested into that like second round game. Yeah, no, it's a pretty good deal for them.
Yep. Well, guys, this was the quarterfinal wraparound. We kind of turned this into several different topics, but we hope you enjoyed it. Let us know what you think about the seeding going on, about the teams themselves, which one you enjoyed the most. For 3 bold takes, for Freddie, for Chase, for Quinn. We've enjoyed you guys so much. We got one more game for Capital One Bowl Mania. We already did what is this one? What do you call it too? Is this semifinals? Is that what that is?
Semifinal.
Sorry. It's the semifinals we just did. So make sure to go watch those videos. And as always, we thank you so much.